Felicitous greetings, fellow fanatics. Ahoy, mateys! International Talk Like a Pirate Day be approaching fast on the horizon, and don't worry, I'm not going to be talking like that through the entire review. However, in observation of this auspicious holiday, I will be taking a look at Sid Meier's Pirates Live the Life, also known as Sid Meier's Pirates 2004, a high seas action-adventure title by Firaxis Games. Sid Meier's Pirates was ported to many different systems over the years and saw not one but two remakes, both of which themselves saw plenty of ports. Today we'll be looking at the PC version of the 2004 release. Almost 2 decades later, does it still hold up today? Let's find out! In Sid Meier's Pirates, you take on the role of the infamous Captain Incognito. As the game opens, you're treated to a short scene with him as a young boy, where his family's trade ship is sunk and the Marquis de la Montalban barges in and presses them all into bondage due to their inability to pay off their debt to him. We then jump ahead several years, where Incognito makes his way to the Caribbean. The captain of the vessel is a cruel man, and before arriving on the western shores, Incognito leads a mutiny, with him and the victorious crew declaring the vessel to be the pirate ship Revenge. It's there that your story begins, with the Revenge making landfall at a port city. From there, your goal is simply to make a name for yourself as a pirate, and there are a great many ways to do this. Unlike Microprose's Sword of the Samurai, Pirates leans less on the historical realities in the era, and instead takes on a much more romanticized and cartoonish look at the high age of piracy. The simplest and most straightforward way to make your mark is simply to amass wealth, but you'll also be given the option to defeat famous pirates and find their buried treasures, discover ancient lost cities, rescue your family, take your revenge against Montalban, and even fall in love and get married. And you may only get married once. You may be the scum of the sea, but you're not that kind of scum. As you probably already guessed, you'll spend most of the game sailing. This will be used to ferry you from destination to destination, as well as to engage other ships in combat. The Caribbean is a vast place, and you'll have constant easterly winds blowing. Learning to sail eastward is a skill that you'll need to master, as you'll have to deal with the headwind. This is probably the most realistic part of the game right here, as it encourages you to learn a technique known as tacking, where you effectively zigzag your path to get crosswinds in order to sail against the wind. Keep in mind that smaller vessels with triangular sails tend to handle tacking far better than larger ships with square sails. So while it may be tempting to head a fleet of massive galleons, a tiny sloop is far more agile. Eventually, you'll want to engage other ships in combat. When you're within range of a ship on the map, you can choose to engage them at any time. Once this happens, you'll want to try and board them. You can attempt to fire your cannons to weaken the enemy vessel before boarding. Every ship will have access to the standard round shot, which has the longest range. Chain shot has moderate range and is designed to deal more damage to enemy sails. Grape shot has the shortest range of the MO types and is especially effective at taking out enemy crew members. But be careful, you generally don't want to sink the enemy ship. You won't be able to claim any of its bounty if it's all on the ocean floor. Once you make contact with an enemy vessel, you'll board and engage the opposing captain in a sword duel. There are two ways to win here. Either push the enemy captain back until they're forced into the sea, or you can taunt them to encourage your crew. Both yours and the enemy crews will constantly be taking damage from one another. If either is defeated entirely, their leader is forced to surrender. Sword fights are pretty straightforward. You'll have 3 types of offensive and 3 types of defensive maneuvers. Successfully defending leaves the enemy vulnerable for a few moments and gives you a bit of extra time to follow up with a counterattack. Not every sword fight takes place aboard ship. You may want to capture a criminal for the bounty on their head, or deal with an officer that's offended you. But regardless, they all play out the same way. Upon successfully capturing an enemy vessel, you'll automatically take all their gold and also have the option of taking food, cannons, or any salable goods they may have. You also have the option of taking control of the ship itself. Every ship has a minimum number of crew members required to sail effectively. You may choose to ignore this, but your fleet will have its sailing and turning speeds reduced as a result, so be sure you're close to a friendly port if you decide to do such. But while you'll be spending most of your time on the open seas, you'll also need to constantly make landfall. There are 4 major European nations in the game: the English, Dutch, French, and Spanish, all vying for control of the region. If you continually attack ships of a specific nation or their allies, they'll eventually post bounties on your head. However, if you gain a nation's favor by attacking those they're currently at war with, defeating other pirate vessels, or taking control of an enemy city in the name of that nation, you'll be able to gain ranks first as a naval officer and eventually a noble. Apparently, every governor in the Spanish Main has been given the authority to name dukes for their respective nations. As you rise in rank, cities in the matching nation will become more useful to you. You'll be able to hire more crew members, trade more goods, and repair and upgrade your ships more cheaply. While in a city, you'll also be able to visit the merchant to buy and sell goods. Although in this version of the game, I rarely found buying goods to be worth it. Typically, I'd rather just unload what I already have. You'll be able to visit the shipwright to repair your vessels, sell them off, or upgrade them to sail or turn faster, hold more crew, shoot farther, etc. You'll also want to stop by the local taverns where you can hire more crew, listen for rumors about ships in the area, or purchase items and treasure map pieces. And while in a city, you can also dance with the governor's daughter. Impress her and she may give you access to more valuable information or leave you with some gifts. Sometimes, however, you'll want to sneak into an enemy city. When you do this, there are two ways you can handle it. You can sneak in by yourself under cover of night and try to make your way to either the governor's manor or the local tavern. If you get caught, you'll be thrown in jail until your crew can break you out. Alternatively, if you have a large enough force, you can actually assault the town directly. If the town has less than 100 guards, you'll simply duel atop the ramparts. Otherwise, you'll have to defeat the enemy defenses in tactical combat. The pitched forces are asymmetrical. You'll always have one group of officers and a large number of pirates which lack firearms but are very effective in melee. You'll also have a small number of buccaneers who can attack at a distance with their muskets but are nearly helpless if the enemy closes the distance between them. Enemies will always have infantry and guards, both of which carry firearms but are fairly weak in melee. Oftentimes, they'll be aided by native warriors that are stronger in melee and not slowed down by forests. Larger forces will even field cavalry, which can move swiftly on open terrain and trample your forces, but are severely weakened by forests and jungles. If you're victorious in laying siege to a city, you'll ransack it for a hefty sum of gold and often be given the option to install a new governor, thus shifting the allegiance of the city to its new nation. But of course, what fictional pirate would be complete without treasure maps? Each map in the game has 4 pieces. Depending on how lucky you are, you may be able to find your prize with only 2 or 3 of them, but each piece makes it easier to do so with further landmarks being revealed in a more specific area to search in order to find it. These can lead you to a pirate's buried treasure, ancient lost cities that for some reason still have hoards of wealth within them, a cabin where one of your family members is being held captive, or even Montalban's hidden fortress. Although the game doesn't have a specific end condition to beat it, defeating the Marquise on his own turf and taking revenge for your captive family could be thought of as the closest thing the game has to a final boss. It also yields the single largest gold reward of any task within the game. As things go on, you'll eventually want to bring your voyage to an end. The longer it goes on, the more gold you'll need to keep your crew happy. If they feel there's not sufficient funds for the time spent at sea, they may turn mutinous. As such, every once in a while you'll need to call your current voyage to an end and divvy up the loot. Depending on the difficulty setting, you'll take the lion's share as captain. The higher the difficulty, the greater a share you take, but the harder it is to keep your crew pleased as a result. After that, depending on your health, you'll have one of 3 options. You can start another voyage at either your current difficulty, or choose to increase the difficulty level before setting out again. Alternatively, you may choose to retire and end your game. Although as the years go by and your health begins to wane, you may eventually be forced to retire even if you don't wish to. Whether mandatory or by choice, you'll be taken to a score screen which recaps your adventures. You can earn a maximum of 126 fame points in the game if you do everything that it has to offer. Presentation-wise, the game is a little dated as it nears 2 decades in age, but still holds up fairly well. It has a cartoony aesthetic that helps it to hold up better than attempts at realism from that era, and while set pieces are rather limited, there's a lot of fun details put into each one. There's not much in the way of story beyond what you get at the beginning, but it is a sandbox game and is more focused on simply letting you carve out your own path rather than telling an intricate narrative. And of course, since I am doing this for International Talk Like a Pirate Day, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention the game's Easter egg. If your system clock is set to September 19th when you play, a great deal of the dialogue in-game will change to reflect this. It's a little thing, but it's good for a quick laugh or two at least. All in all, Sid Meier's Pirates is an enjoyably campy take on the golden age of piracy. The core gameplay and its controls are simple enough that just about anyone can dive in and enjoy it at the lower difficulties, but it gives plenty of challenges for players that really want to master it. Although it's not a turn-based title, it does capture that just one more turn feel that Sid Meier's games are known for, constantly having something for players just over the horizon. It has a core gameplay loop that's simply enjoyable to partake in and still has players coming back for more to this day. In conclusion, I find Sid Meier's Pirates Live the Life to be the definitive version of a true classic, worthy of a respectable 8.8 out of 10. Sid Meier's Pirates Live the Life is currently available for PC via Steam and GOG. Additionally, if you're interested in trying out the older gold version of the game, then that's also available on Steam. If you're interested in purchasing or learning more, links are included in the description. But what about you? What do you think of Sid Meier's Pirates? What pirate-themed games do you enjoy? If you have any questions, remarks, or opposing points of view, leave them in the comments down below. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and ring that bell. If you really enjoy my work, please consider funding my channel on Patreon. Until next time, farewell, fellow fanatics. Thank you again for watching. I have plenty more to share with you if you're interested. You can click up here above my head to subscribe to my channel. You can click over here on my monitor to see the most recent video that I worked on. Or if you prefer, you can click up here to open this mysterious vault and see what video that the YouTube algorithm has picked just for you.